All right, happy Wednesday night. We have a trade for the second time this week. We have a trade and a lesson learned. I went to go pick up my son at the movies, and sure enough, whenever you're out of the house and you're driving, uh, a mid-June trade happened. So I'm like in scramble mode. Do I pull over to the side of the road? Do I go pick him up? I'm going to be late. So I pulled over in a gas station, went through my notes a little bit, and then figured I would probably get disowned if I left my son and his friend at the movie theater. So I a little bit of a scramble mode, but finally got home. But we've got a five-player trade. We thought that certainly how the Mavericks season ended, that addressing the center position was going to be a priority for them, and they certainly did. And how the trade works is you have to look at it from both sides here. 4-for-1 type trade. So a couple ground rules when looking at this. Because we're in the off season, rosters can expand to 20 players. So when you look at Houston taking back 4 players, and then certainly when you add that draft pick, so that technically I guess 5 players, they'll go to 19 players if as is. You can still expand this deal. They would go to 19 players, so they're within that 20 players. For Dallas's perspective, this deal cannot get done until the night of the draft because they are trading the 26th pick in this year's draft to Houston. If the Mavericks had not already traded their 2023 first, that's going to New York as far as the Kristaps Porzingis trade, top 10 protected, they would have been allowed to trade this. The rules are you cannot trade back-to-back first in consecutive years. However, once the draft starts and the pick is already selected, this current year basically ends. Now you look ahead to 2023. So technically, it's not in back-to-back years because the draft has already started. So the likelihood is that what will happen is that the Mavericks are going to select it, but they are going to select it on behalf of the Houston Rockets. So you can't trade back-to-back years. However, a little bit of a loophole, once the draft starts and that player is selected, then the deal can be consummated. So this deal is not going to happen until next Thursday, June 23rd. Draft picks do not count as salary in the draft. Although this pick it's got a $2.3 million, let's say, hold, you do not add it when you're doing salary. It's not a person yet. Their rights are being traded. Until they sign the contract and their trade restriction is lifted, that draft rights has no value. So when you look at the players involved, and it's pretty simple. I mean, it lines up within 175%. Boban's got 2 years left, or let's say we'll act like it's going into next year. So it was 3-5 this year, 3-5 for next season. All the players involved are on expiring contracts. Sterling Brown's $3 million for next year. Marquese Chriss is at 2.2. Trey Burke is the big winner of the night. He has next year he's got 3.3. He's got to opt into his player option for this deal to happen, and he's got a trade bonus in here. So when he did his deal a few years ago, his agent Sam Permet put a trade bonus in there, 7.5%. So it's the value of what is owed on the contract. So it's that 3.3 million. 7.5% of that gets you to 247,500 that the Mavericks are now responsible for. That amount gets spread out evenly over this year's cap hit and next year's cap hit. So for Burke, he's got a cap hit of like 3.4 and change here. So that's how the trade bonus works. It's the percentage of the amount owed, right? But it's spread out over what is left as far as from a cap hit standpoint. So it gets spread over for 2 years here. So it's a 4-for-1 type deal. Christian Wood, 13-7, 14-3. He is extension eligible 6 months from when the trade occurred. 4 years, $77 million. So let's say the deal gets done on June 23rd, then you're looking right around Christmas time that he can sign that extension for the Mavericks here. It's a kind of it's a pretty cap neutral type trade here when you look at what's going out from Houston's standpoint, what's going out from Dallas's standpoint. Mavericks are already a little over $7 million over luxury tax, so I understand it from both sides. Dallas needed a 5. You traded 4 guys that had no impact during your playoff run in Boban, Burke, Brown, and Marquese Chriss for a guy that I pulled up their offseason article. One of 14 players in the league to average 15 and 10 this season. Since the All-Star break, averaged 19.4 points, 9.7 rebounds, while shooting 58% from the field and 45.7% from 3. It's a low-risk move, right? I mean, worst comes to worst, he doesn't sign the extension, which I think he will when it's, 4 for 77 is a good number. And you just, and then, it costs you the 26th pick in the draft. And I think from Houston's perspective, Tim McMahon, who covers the Rockets and the Mavericks and a lot of teams, hit it on the head. Guy's going on an expiring contract. You're not going to probably get a first-round pick for Christian Wood when you get the season going, especially that if you get past that 6-month date and he's not even extension eligible, it's good value. It's for Houston that has 3, 17, and 26. You got to figure out their roster. They've got 19 players, so you've got to move some pieces around here. They also create a $4 million trade exception, which always can come in handy. So I understand it from both sides here. So from the Mavericks standpoint, hey, we're all in, right? We're win now. You get to a conference finals. You taste, a few games away from the NBA finals. You needed a 5. You had limited assets. You cobbled together 4 contracts, and it cost you a pick. But when you're all in and you've got a franchise player like Luka, that's the type of deal that you need to go out and do because, as we know, $7 million over the luxury tax is not going to get you anything in free agency besides re-signing Jalen Brunson. And it's not going to get you Mitchell Robinson or one of these other players with your tax mid-level exception. So this is the best deal that you can go out and do. You don't wait until July 1. You do it now. As I said, it will get finalized on June 23rd. For the Rockets, it's all about their young players. Alfred Sengun, he's your center of the future here. You're going to draft probably Paolo Banchero, so he could be your 4 shot creator. You've got 17, you've got 26. Maybe those 2 get you into the lottery portion. Maybe gets you to 13. Maybe gets you to 12. So just gives Houston a lot of different options. He was on an expiring. You were not going to extend him. You might as well cut bait. So it's a win-win for both teams. Second deal of the week we saw earlier the week. I apologize for not doing a video on Denver and Oklahoma City. If you could see my office right now, I feel like I'm back at Marist College studying for exams. I got papers all over here for getting ready for this draft and then free agency. But we wrote in the Oklahoma City article, cap space, user to lose it up until July 1 because of Gildress Alexander's extension was going to kick in. And they had $32 million. You took in JaMychal Green's $8.2 million, another guy that's got to opt in. In turn, the Nuggets get the 30th pick in the draft. They've got 21 and 30. The Thunder now get a 2027 first that's got protection on it. It's 2 years after Denver sends Orlando that pick, which is slated for 2025. Thunder, I don't need to go through all their draft picks. It's loaded here. So they've got 2, 12, and then 34 for this season. A ton. After this year, I think it's 16 more first-round picks that they have in future years here. So that's a little bit on the Thunder. Nuggets. Denver saves some money. They can go out and use their tax mid-level exception also, and it kind of offsets what they did here. So all in all, Houston, Dallas, 2 teams and kind of going in different directions. Houston's building through the draft. Dallas is all in as far as this type of move. Have a good night, and we will talk soon.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.